This compute. Okay, welcome everybody. This is a meeting to address the analysis of Brownfields cleanup alternatives, or the ABCA, for the proposed cleanup of the former Precise Engineering site at 54 West Union Street. My name is Tracy Costa. I'm an LSP with Ransom Consulting. Can everyone that is here on behalf of the town announce themselves, please?
My name is Brian Noble, and I am the town administrator.
John Haynes, Director of Public Works.
Dave Sheedy, Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. So the town again is applying for an EPA Brownfields cleanup grant in the amount of $500,000. The EPA cleanup grant application is due on October 28th. The ABCA is available for public review and comment, and it is posted on the town's website. I am going to review the pertinent portions of the ABCA. So the Precise Engineering site is located at 54 West Union Street in East Bridgewater, and it's defined by two parcel IDs, parcel 6219 and 6220, whereby 6219 is the 1.16 acre land portion, and 6220 is the portion that contains the building that measures almost 30,000 square feet. And the property is located in an area of mixed use. It includes residential development. It is abutted by an abandoned MBTA railroad right-of-way, beyond which is also another abandoned Brownfield site known as the former Eastern State Steel site. This site is located within a Zone 2 aquifer protection area, so it's really important that you understand that the groundwater beneath the site is considered protected. One of the benefits of this site is that there is a clay layer that really is serving as a confining layer, and it appears to prevent the vertical migration of contamination. So again, this site had a lot of industrial history from the 1920s all the way through the 1990s, and has been vacant for over 20 years. So in 1987, there was a release of petroleum and chlorinated solvents that was discovered at the site, and Mass DEP assigned a release tracking number, and subsequently in 1996 assigned another release tracking number to address a release of PCBs. So the chlorinated VOCs are attributed to solvents that were stored in truck bodies and drums and in degreasing tanks. So those truck bodies and drums were actually outside, and over time there were spills associated with that. So based on our assessment activities and assessment that have been performed by other contractors, the way we looked at the groundwater is we looked at shallow groundwater, intermediate groundwater, and then deeper groundwater. So based on assessment activities conducted to date, there is an area of localized petroleum contamination that seems to be commingled with the chlorinated VOCs. And there's also a drainage ditch adjacent to the site. So the petroleum contamination is associated with a former underground storage tank, along with drums. And believe it or not, there was a reported crane accident that occurred when the owner was operating at the structure. So in addition, the PCB impacts were soil piles, but those appear to have been moved. And there really isn't a large PCB issue, but that was associated with the abutting Eastern State Steel property. And there's also metals impacts associated with some scrap metal. But again, really, the majority of the contaminated impacts that we're addressing in this grant application would be the chlorinated VOCs and the petroleum. And there are residual PAH impacts associated with fill materials, which appear to be pretty prevalent at a lot of these brownfield sites. One thing that's valuable to mention is that there was a hazardous building materials survey that we performed in 2017 within accessible portions of the building. There are portions of the building that are caved in and were not accessible. However, there is asbestos and lead-based paint in building materials. So overall, the town is hoping to remediate this site and then have it redeveloped for mixed use to really get it back on the tax rolls. So the applicant does review the very specific regulations that we need to adhere to, which is the Massachusetts contingency plan under an LSP such as me. So because we're in this zone 2 aquifer protection area, we need to adhere to the most strict groundwater standards, which is GW1. So we did review a number of cleanup alternatives. One, do nothing and just monitor groundwater. But over time, if you do not remove the contamination at the site, there is a potential that it could migrate deep into the clay over time. Even though it hasn't to date, it could over time. And it could also migrate horizontally to the residential abutters. We have determined that based on the contamination and the site conditions, the best remedial alternative is remedial injections to address the chlorinated VOCs and the petroleum contamination. And in order to do that, you would first perform a bench scale treatability study and a pilot test. The town has also applied for a mass development Brownfields grant application to perform the bench scale treatability study and the pilot test. One of the advantages of performing these remedial injections, what we refer to as in situ remediation, is you're not disturbing the soil, you're not disturbing the clay layer. It's not as intrusive, but it's very effective also. And also because we can't get within that building footprint, we could get as close to the building footprint to try to remediate any contamination that's within 10 feet of the building footprint. So again, we've estimated that this alternative is about $600,000, whereby the town is required to meet a 20% cost share, which would be that additional $100,000. The other options would be to implement an activity and use limitation, which is a deed restriction or a type of institutional control, and to install a cap and monitor. But over time, that's just as expensive because you're continuing to perform groundwater monitoring over a 15 to 20 year period. And those costs can go up to $500,000. So again, that's really the gist of it. And does anybody have any questions?
Over the years, Tracy, as you stated before, we keep applying and reapplying. Is there any positive thought that this time around we may be in a better position?
I'm hoping so. Certainly, as we know, all of these grants are very, very competitive, and as you know, you're competing with the EPA national grants. You're competing with municipalities across the country, and many of them have similar conditions or even a sadder story to tell. It's also sometimes very challenging to be competing with the larger municipalities that have economic directors and planning directors and are able to demonstrate they've had a lot of success in economic development and revitalization of a target area. It's a lot more challenging for a smaller town to do that. And I think that's part of why the town hasn't received funding. And it's similar with a lot of towns. I know that last year, Massachusetts submitted, I believe, about 21 grant applications, and only about, I believe, 5 or 6 were awarded. And I believe all but 1 were awarded to gateway cities. And as you know, it's really difficult to compete with gateway cities because, you know, they not only have a story to tell, but they have a lot more mechanisms to move a lot of these types of sites forward.
Is there anything that we should be doing differently as a town to put us in a better position?
I think that beyond this, there are opportunities for what's called coalition grants that EPA offers, and that what that does, it allows a number of small municipalities, for example, within a regional area to come together as a coalition. So that could be certainly something to consider. Again, we're really fortunate in the state to have mass development because a lot of states don't have additional brownfields funds to apply to. So I think that if you do not receive the mass development funding, it's prudent to request a debrief. EPA also offers debriefs subsequent to the grant period, the grant award period.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If we get the grant, what would be the time schedule for implementation, Tracy?
The grant awards are announced in the spring of next year of 2021. The funding would be available in October of 2021. And it's over a 3-year duration, the award cycle.
For plenty of time.
Yes. It's my understanding for the mass development grant awards, I believe those may be announced December or January. And I believe those awards will be available in Q1 of 2021.
Good. Are we not asking the right questions? What else do we have?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, unfortunately, we don't have any other attendees, but as you conveyed that this presentation will be available on the town's website.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
So when that finishes recording, if you could just email it to me, and then we'll make sure it gets posted.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you for your.
Thanks, Tracy. Nice seeing you again.
Thank you so much. Bye.